just a nice coat of Flitz on this. Maybe keep it from rusting for 6 months like they advertise. I'm not sure. Now it's supposed to warm up nicely this afternoon. The sun is already out. It's warming up. It's supposed to go into the 50s. It should be a really nice day. So what I want to try to do today is swap out the exhaust, take out the old exhaust on this, polish up the new one, get the new, the original one, get that installed. And I don't even know how the weather is going to play out, but if it's warm enough this afternoon, even get a short test ride. Because of course when we're done with the exhaust, I'll have to put the original jetting back in the bike too. And I have that all segregated out. So this might be a really good day. If the weather cooperates like it looks like it is, this is going to be a really productive day. The goal here is going to be get the best two of these, and I think I can see right away which are the best two. Clean off the grease. I had put grease on these, wipe it off with some kerosene. Take it and try to polish it up a little bit, get the two best headers. And I don't know if I have new gaskets, but if I don't, I'm going to order some and just put this together temporarily. Because those gaskets that go up on the cylinders, when they leak, it makes a mess out of everything. So we have a real luxury today because it's not raining or it's not in some way going to be a problem. I can make some room here to work. It'll make it easier for me. I can take the 650, put it outside, and get this in a position where I can work on it a lot more conveniently, because you can see how little room we have on a day when I have to work inside when it's raining out. So, but we're pretty much ready to pull out the old exhaust system. At first I have to go have a cup of coffee, of course. So look at what's by my pond this morning. It's Goofy. Goofy. Checking out the fish. Anyway, the pond's cleaning up. Spring is on the way. Goofy gives his full approval. Goofy, you're not supposed to drink the fish water. You're going to fall in a pond. Poor Goofy is so old. He's got one tooth. But it looks like a good day to do this job, and I'm itching to get started. Hey, look at the sky. Wow. Spring is in the air. Well, I'm just hoping it's going to be as productive of a day as it was yesterday. I want to get some more work done on this RD today. And this is going to allow me to have a little more room in the garage here, because I need to, most of this job I got to do on my back. Never miss a chance to oogle these bikes in the early morning sun. Ooh. Okay, so the first step is I have the parts I'm going to clean up and polish. They need a lot of degreasing. I wiped them with wheel bearing grease and it seems to have done the job. They don't look any worse than they did 6 years ago when I took this off and put on the other exhaust. Now I've got diesel fuel and a little spray bottle. I'm going to let this soak in for a minute or two. Finish up my coffee. In a minute this will take this right off and we'll be down to where we can put this on. And then the bushing up here, I'm going to grease that bushing before I put it in with some nice clean wheel bearing grease. And obviously this is not a part you see, but there's no point putting it back on dirty when in 30 seconds or a minute I can have it clean. It's just my addiction to being clean and shiny. I don't know why. It's an addiction. Let's face the fact. Now I do remember back in the day that the first thing you would do if you bought an RD was take the center stand off because it would always drag in corners. Well, because we have modern suspension now, we have a little bit better stuff than we had back in the 70s. And the bike, the trick is that the bike actually does sit higher and we have bigger than stock tires on it, all contributing to the fact that you probably can get away with this, but we're going to find out right away. We'll find out the first time we go on a sporty ride with Luciano. Before it's nice and clean. I'm not sure when I cleaned this out, I ran a paper towel through there and you should see the goop that came out. But I'm just a little fussier than, well, I'm sure than I have to be. I just like to have this, that when you put it up on a center stand, it's a nice smooth thing. I'm sure this isn't going to hurt. Oh yeah, nice, nice, very nice. Now, obviously you got to take, if you were going to replace this or take it off, you got to take the exhaust system off. So, and we'll get a new cotter pin. And I remember this spring being a bitch to get on. I guess things haven't changed over the years. Now these pieces have been, they're just covered with grease. And the whole purpose of covering them with grease, and that was 6 years ago, the thing I showed on yesterday's video, it worked perfectly. And you know, military stuff, they put them in cosmoline, which I guess is the same thing as grease. Now, a couple of things that I learned about when you take the grease off, these rags, just throw them out. Because the smell never goes away. Diesel fuel is one of the things that, and these towels, the rags, you get done with this, and you don't put your, you know, your go to church riding outfit on. Now, I ought to run these on the polisher a little bit just to see if they'd clean up. They actually aren't rusty. I thought 6 years, but I do need to get some new gaskets. I hope I'm going to be able to get them. So once I get these cleaned up like this, now it's going to be a test of will they polish up, and then last thing is put some flits on them. And of course the best thing is just take a roll of paper towels, and when you're done, throw the towels away. Or if you use rags, throw them away too. That actually cleaned up pretty decently. Not too disappointed about that. Now only a couple hours into the day, and it's a blue sky day. It's already up over 50 degrees. I didn't expect it to be this nice, but we're committed to doing this exhaust today. Final thing is just a nice coat of flits on this. Maybe keep it from rusting for 6 months like they advertise. I'm not sure. Now one down and one to go, and that always seems like the second one, of course, always goes a little bit faster than the first one. But they cleaned up nice, and it looks like that grease did a good job of protecting things. Now, it's even more important on an evil twin type of project where, you know, at some point in time you want to swap the bike out to be a different bike, a different exhaust, a different seat. We've had every possible combination I could think of on this, and I have always thought of one of the other things I wanted to do, I never got around to do it yet, was to get another seat and tank, another tank. Let's see what I would need. I got a GS tank. I'd have to make a seat because I know the seat doesn't fit after you put the GS tank on. But that was originally what I was going to do at the beginning of the year, but the way it turned out didn't work out that way. Anyway, I'm surprised this 6 years this thing has been sitting in hibernation, and the parts are cleaning up nice. And you know the reality, you just can't go down to a dealer and buy new parts. You've got to take care of the stuff you have, and as Mark Morgan so correctly says, when you find you have an old bike and you find parts available that are in decent shape, you got to be your own parts supplier. Now this one required an awful lot more cleanup. This had some real rust on it, but hopefully we've got most of it cleaned up, and boy, it's warmed up to be a beautiful, beautiful day out there. I was not expecting it to be this nice, but we have to go to Army with the war we have, as I always say. And a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of flits, a little bit of mother's polish. It's almost, they're definitely not quite brand new, but they're going to be nice and clean. I'm very glad that I meticulously saved all the rubber bushings, and I'll clean these up and all the washers, and because I'm sure these are difficult to find online. We'll clean this hardware up as a separate thing, but right now I want to get the grease off of the mufflers. We could just put that on later. This is going to be a separate thing. And the mufflers, of course, let's get this out of the way. The trick with getting the grease off is just let the diesel fuel soak in and whatever, go do a cup of coffee or whatever. And I'm so happy that these are saved, because right now, if I wanted to buy an RD exhaust system, or every year these things go up in price and get harder and harder to find. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell. Is if you do happen to have some of this stuff, you really don't want to let it go. It's sad to see, to me, that the dents and little imperfections that are in here now, there's really no way to get them out realistically, because we're already down through the chrome. But we can get a layer of protection on this, and a little bit, just make it a little bit nicer anyway. And I'm just totally convinced if there were a place locally or somewhere reasonably you could get things chromed like in the old days, yeah, but in our case, in this area of the country, there's no such thing. And I haven't found it anyway. And by the way, just for reference point, this Flitz buffing ball is just a great thing to have for everything, just for general cleaning. But the main thing is I wanted to put a layer of protection on there. I don't want to have to be dealing with more rust than I have right now. Now, with one of these done, I think it's a good time for a little coffee break. And this is the first time this year we'll be able to have our coffee out by the pond. So that should be a little upgrade over having it in the cellar. Anyway, we've gone and done as much as we can with restoring these, bringing them back to as nice as we can. And I got to do the other one, but first I need a coffee break. Hey, one down, and of course one to go. That's the hard part. We do need a coffee break though. So these parts are cleaning up nice. It's time consuming and it's dirty work, but the end result is putting it together then will be a piece of cake, and it'll be enjoyable. It's not enjoyable when they're all greased up and dirty and filthy and everything. This is the nicest coffee break we're going to have. I can't believe it. I can oogle the bikes. Oh, all that dirty work pays off. Now, to me, this really is the definition of a good life. A springtime day, polishing motorcycles. May even get to ride in the next couple days. We're both getting over our illnesses. It's really been a real positive day. And I may get that exhaust on this afternoon. I definitely will get it on. Oh boy, that cup of coffee is going to taste a lot better than the ones when it was raining out. Found out one thing for sure. The second part always goes a little faster, and now I'm excited because less than an hour from now I'll be taking this all apart, putting these on. I know it should be a pretty straightforward thing getting them on. These have already been on the motorcycle, so shouldn't be any problem. We'll clean up the hardware, and every step of this is right on track. And the best thing is we're going to have an evil twin. By the end of the day, maybe even, we'll be having an evil twin. And to me, an evil twin is almost like buying a new motorcycle. It gives you a reason to have a new bike. It's going to sound different. It's going to run different. I'm not sure if we're going to have to spend a day or so jetting it, but if we do, of course, I'll put that on, make a separate video of it. And we want to get all this grease off. That's one of the things a lot of people, I'm sure, would say, oh, you're not going to see that. That's in the back. You never see that. It's on the bottom or something. Well, you know what? I just like having clean stuff, and when I'm working, it is an addiction of mine. I know there's people that are just saying, I can hear them. windy. You don't have to clean that. Don't worry about it. Well, I guess they don't know about being addicted. Okay, we're ready to pull that exhaust system off the bike. I've got to figure out how I want to get it jacked up off the ground so it's easy to work on. These parts this was a real time-consuming thing, but I think we got the result we want. We made the most out of the parts we have available. And one final thing before I clean off the table here and get into the clean part of the job. I'm going to clean this up the same way we cleaned up the parts. Go down by the buffing wheel, clean them up, make them as good as we can. It'll make putting it together a lot nicer. Now I've got to take the seat off to use the electric come along. I want to get the back end of the bike off the ground. This will just make it a little bit easier. That'll just make it easier to get underneath and get the bolts loosened. Getting this old exhaust system off, there's 6 bolts, springs, and this thing is really in need of a refurbish. When I looked at it really close out in the bright sunlight, it really needs a refurbish. Well, lucky for us, it's warming up out here pretty nice. That just makes it a little bit more pleasant doing this. Now, first thing is to get the springs off, and then the back bolt, and this will slide forward. Now, the nuts that hold this on are locking nuts, and I've double nutted them with the idea in mind to keep the vibration from loosening these, and it seems to have worked pretty well. And once we get this bolt off, a little tricky getting that in there. Okay. And then we slide this forward, and then I can get the headers off as a separate thing. Still not off. There we go. Okay, that's out, that's out, that's out. Okay, that's ready to... So it looks like the easiest way to do this, rather than break that seal, is just pull the whole exhaust off at one time. Now that sealer that I had used that worked for 6 years, it worked so good that these headers are held in place. In fact, I'm going to put my foot under this so it doesn't drop down. And I had thought about something that's really, it slipped by me in the past. I was always trying to think of some ceramic coating or plating or galvanizing or something that would make this, that it would just be impervious to all this corrosion and everything. But I have another idea. Oh, okay, so the gasket looks like it held up pretty well. Wow. Okay, now the whole exhaust comes off in one piece. But the next time I evil twin this back out, I had thought about something that I bet, I'll talk to Dave Midgley about it. I bet he'll have a good answer for this. We had, years ago, we had used Huntsman resin, the resin that we made the R1 exhaust, among other things, in a model airplane exhaust. And you can put dye in it. So I was thinking, bring this down to bare metal, sandblast it, and put a coat of Huntsman resin with black dye in it. That may be the answer, but this finish that they give you with the, you can see, this, I was just never happy with this. It's a shame because I've got 2 sets of these pipes, and it's the finish on them that's the killer. The finish is what is the deal breaker here. Anyway, we got 6 years out of them so far, and we'll see where this project winds up next time we work on this and evil twin it back out to a sport bike. Okay, next thing is the same thing. Pull the 2 bolts off the front, 1 bolt off the back, slide that header out, and we're ready to start cleaning up underneath there. And I'm sure there's plenty of grit and grime and road salt and everything. 6 years worth, in fact. Yeah, I'm thinking that Huntsman resin would be a good, because now that these are off the bike and I'll be driving it at least until the next Evil Twin, it'll give me a chance to experiment with that, and if it doesn't work, it's not a big deal. But to get this whole finish off, I think the most realistic thing is to just sandblast it down, bring it down a sandblaster, and that's probably what I'll do, and then put a coat of barbecue paint on so it isn't so disgusting. Anyway, you can see this is going to be a nice upgrade having that exhaust on there. And then this will give us a project probably for next winter that we'll see if that Huntsman resin with some black dye in it does the job. And that Huntsman resin has held up over the years, and we've got almost 30,000 miles on this bike, and at most of them with this exhaust system. So that Huntsman resin might be an answer for that. Plus I'd be able to buff it out. That might be something cool. Anyway, I always am thinking one step ahead. Now I want to clean up underneath there. That's why I jacked it up. Clean up as good as I can, and then get the center stand on. Without the exhaust in the way here. Very easy to do a cleanup, and actually underneath there wasn't as dirty as I thought it would be. I'm ready to put the center stand on. So this will just make it a little more convenient cleaning the back wheel and doing maintenance on the bike. But we will have to figure out if it's going to be a problem grounding out with the different suspension we have on it now. And I know getting that spring in is going to be a challenge. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Now the spring. This is going to be fun, I know. But this is going to butt up against the muffler. So I need to get, let's see, get that spring on next. Getting the spring on the kickstand, always a lot of fun. Now because we don't have the pipes in place, oh, there we go. Wow. Wow, the man's a professional. Wow. Now, the reason it's easy, the pipes aren't here. If the pipes were here, you got to stretch it a lot more. So maybe there's a lesson there. I don't know. I don't know what the lesson is, but there it is. Now, lucky for me, I have the last two gaskets, I think, on the planet. I usually have more of this stuff, but since I've been changing the exhaust system over the years, these are the last two on the planet. Now, I was really impressed that I have two of them left, because I've got every gasket on the planet, everything except RD exhaust gasket. So I know somewhere in the world I've got to get some stock on these. I have some extra ones for the front. Oh, yeah. But wow, this is my lucky day. I didn't realize I was going to have two. Lucky for me. Now, as this day has gone by, it has just gotten nicer and nicer. It's t-shirt weather here. Wow, this day went from being cold this morning to beautiful, and it's actually time for lunch. So to take a little break from the project, Karen and I we take a little walk around Rutherford. Look at the beautiful flowers are out already. What do you think, baby? Nice. Time for us to grow some flowers. What are these now? These are all dogwoods. It's the dogwood season here in Rutherford. All are beautiful. Some are pink. What are the pink ones?
The pink ones come out after the white ones.
Okay, the white ones come out first. So here's an amazing thing. As we get back to the yard, nobody stole the motorcycle. Wow. Now here's the question of the day. Take a wild guess where Karen's going to hang out this afternoon. She can oogle the bike. I got to get back to work. All right, miracle of miracles, we do have gaskets. I got to scrape the old gaskets out. Hardware's cleaned up, and we're ready to put things back together. Now the gaskets that came out of here, wow. They sealed up for 6 years. I guess that's not too bad. I want to clean this out a little bit before I put these back. Boy, when these things leak at the gasket in the front, it makes a mess. That's unbelievable. Not like a 4-stroke. Okay, so let's see if these fit perfectly. Oh yeah. El Perfecto. Couldn't be any better. Now the trick here is to make these just hand tight, because we have to have this floating while we wind up lining up the muffler. In fact, I've got to loosen this one up. Right. Now the point is I still need to be able to line these pipes up when I slide the muffler in. And so getting that, these are just hand tight now, not wrench tight, until everything lines up. Now the trick is to slide the muffler in and make that connection up there and get everything lined up and then tighten up the screws. Now because we have the kickstand in here. Go there. And we got to push that down. Get that connection. And once you get that joint lined up, that is a bolt under here. Has to go in from the bottom. And now pretty much we'll be able to go around, and especially on the header, torque them down equally. Try to compress that gasket nice and smooth. And then we'll actually have one side on then. Now it's really good practice to heat cycle this, say after 2 or 3 rides. Just recheck the torque and make sure they're both equal, because if that gasket goes in cocked or you tighten one side and not the other side, it's best just to add about 5 pounds of torque each time and get that to seal up. Once it seals, you're home free all. This bottom bolt can be a real pain. Okay, that's good. And the only thing we have to do is tighten the back up. Everything else is solid. This has really been a crazy day. It's warmed up to where I'm almost ready to go get a pair of shorts. But we got one side of this on now. Everything's snugged up. This is the last piece. All the bolts are Loctited. This is the last one I've got to get tightened up. And then we got to go. There's a tentative problem that I knew I was going to have, but now I knew this was going to be an issue of putting a kickstand up. I need to have, I guess I can figure something out here. I guess we're going to find out. And the worst that'll happen is we won't have a side stand until I get one off eBay or somewhere. I don't imagine that's an impossible part to find. Okay, so one side's on. We're ready to go to the other side. Now it's pretty much the same for this side, and got the gasket area all cleaned out. That's good. Okay, got this. Get that put on. Now the final challenge is going to be that kickstand until I can get my hands on an eBay part or modify this part. I got to see what I can do here because we're running out of time here today. This took a whole day, right? Longer than I normally work here, but I had a nice break with Karen, nice little walk around town, see the trees blooming, and I'm going to try to shoot a couple of pictures of this at the end of the day. Now I removed that little foot that was there, and I have to go through my inventory of junk here, see if I can come up with something. And I'm not sure I can, but in the worst of all worlds, I guess I'm not going to have a side stand for a few days. Yeah, we got some nesting birds up there. I'm going to try to zoom in on them if I can. The kids are here, but we're maintaining our social distance. There he is. I can see him. Ah, there he is.
Stacy, he'll send you the video.
Listen to that. He's been singing for half an hour. Wow. That is so cool, huh, Stace?
Beautiful.
Wow. Listen to that song. Oh my God.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Miles, you like that bird? So the kids came for a visit. We enjoyed their visit, and I've gone through my supply of stuff and came up with 2 camera mounts that I may be able to somehow adapt. And I got 2 pieces of threaded rod. See, this is just a temporary thing anyway. I don't want to spend a whole day making it. And I got to see if this will work. I don't know. This is the time to start improvising things. And sometime I've had this happen in my life many times before, where I do a job that 4, 5, 6 hours, think, wow, I'm all done, everything's good to go, and there's one last thing, one little detail, and that little detail takes 7 hours. And this looks like that might be the case with this. But it'll be worth it. And for all purposes, next time we ride this bike, it'll be a bike we haven't ridden in 6 years. It'll be a true evil twin. Now, despite all the stuff I tried, this worked out to be a functional thing, and since this is not permanent, and I can still catch my shoe on that. Actually, I wish I had a piece that was a little bit longer, but I don't. I could put a piece of rubber tubing over that so it doesn't rub on the chrome. Maybe that'll get me through until I can, well, what I need to do is just buy a stock stand from somewhere. Now I'm hoping either Ray Straub or Malcolm or somebody will have one of these, because these are they're not easy to find, and I'm certainly willing to pay the usual price. So the answer is going to be to find a piece of rubber hose that fits over that rod, and I hope we have some in here that's going to be a decent fit. This certainly consumed a big part of the day, but I think this is going to work. Believe it or not, it looks like that's going to work. And, well, it's going to get us through. And sometimes getting through is all we need to do. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. Alright, all that's left to do here, put the seat back on, see if it's light enough. The sun is still out. Want to take a couple of pictures. Always like to have some pictures on the back of the end of the day. And all we got to do is put the seat on and we're all set. Now, I always try to shoot a couple of pictures at the end of every day just to show the progress and to share with friends and to look back. Here the light, you see it's already getting dark out. The kids had come over for a visit. We were watching a mockingbird make a nest, and Miles was throwing things in a pond, but we did have a nice visit. The only problem is we still had to keep 10 feet apart because of the coronavirus, of course. Anyway, but this was better than having no pictures at all. I'm here as the long shadows of the day come joining us here, and I tried to get some pictures. Not sure if that is going to come out. I wanted to try to get some of these pictures, like say dances with wolf sunset and everything, but it doesn't look like we're having a dances with gefilte fish tonight. So anyway, this was a long day. We had to improvise at the end, but we do have what I think are, in the course of this whole time we worked on the RD, several really nice upgrades. The last thing will be to see how off the jetting is. And I do have it all cataloged and written down, and if we have to, it'll be a simple thing to just put the stock jetting back in, which we probably will. But tomorrow is supposed to be a riding day. Tomorrow is looking like it's going to be real nice, except it's going to rain, so you can't win. What a day this was. We had the kids come over, got the bike done. Got this, Rob got to see this for the really all in one piece the first time. He was overwhelmed. So anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Now at the end of the day, it really got a lot darker, and I thought, well, I could get a couple more pictures just before dusk. I'm not sure if any of these pictures are going to come out, but I always like to have pictures to share. Always like to have pictures in my memory bank, so 10 years from now, if I'm still alive, I can look back at. And I'm sure this is going to be remembered as a day that'll live in infamy right alongside Pearl Harbor. Anyway, we are enjoying watching that mockingbird make a nest up there, and we should have baby mockingbirds soon. Our birds are eating, and I think tomorrow or the next day, the fish are going to start eating. And when they start eating, come out of hibernation, spring has arrived.